Good morning. Now, very interesting materials and exciting ideas. Thank you, Penny, Captain Vinay, and Arthur for the presentations. I'm sure you have a lot of questions on some of those new technologies and ideas. So why don't I just open the floor now and take some questions before maybe we can have another round of discussion with the panel. Any questions from the floor? Please identify yourself before you ask the question.
This is Anil Arora, Unique Shipping. I know, of course, there were interesting things and new ideas, and of course, this is a shipping dialogue. But there was one very basic thing in Vinay's presentation: planet in peril. Who is responsible? Of course, there are a lot of things we talked about, and there are a lot of actions we talked about, possible actions. But there is some very basic things which we also need to look at, and for which we all can be responsible. And I'm sure, I think Civic Exchange can also, sort of encourage that. For example, how many of us use cars and not public transport? Why? How many of are wearing suits today in spite of the hot weather warning, making people to turn on their ACs in full power, which could be saved? What about the local consumption? How many of us yearn for all the good things from abroad? Why not local? All these things contribute to the environment. We can talk of a lot of technologies, a lot of things. Let's start with the basics. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone who want to echo that point? I'm sure everyone. Any follow-up response?
I would comment like this. Ocean transport, as I mentioned yesterday, is responsible for 94% of transfer of goods, raw material, finished goods, luxury goods, food chain, from place where it is produced to place where it is required. If it wasn't for ocean transport, some countries in this world would be prosperous, advanced. Some will remain poor and underprivileged. So this is a man's march to prosperity, and everybody has a right to prosper. Some were denied that right by whatever reason. That's history. But I think this is a natural evolution. We cannot and we should not restrict it any way whatsoever. If there's a problem, solve it. Dancing around that will not solve the problem. It won't go away. And that's the message to learn. I think we should not deny ourselves of luxury or better living conditions simply because it might anger somebody or pollute the environment. Find a solution like the one exists for NOx. We are dancing around the problem. Here is a solution. I have personally made 35 calls to engine makers. Not one was returned. So there's a conspiracy. And I dare say this, having succeeded in this particular project, it's time that somebody with courage and conviction comes forward and hold the hand of TCC and USC. Let's do it. Thank you.
Thank you. May I ask Penny, is anything at the government level that you can do to encourage or to even kind of support similar ideas that Captain Vinay has just tell us? Are there things that you can work together?
Absolutely. In fact, on the topic of technology development, in particular, to solve some of the problems that we have created for ourselves as human beings, we do work together to help advance technologies, and I was very pleased to hear the update on this particular technology. In fact, we've had now at least a 3-year engagement with the TCC group in the United States on the progress and some of the challenges that they're having, and hopefully getting it to the point where it can actually be really deployed as an alternative technology for complying with some of these requirements. The NOx requirement sounds like it's might be first before the SOx. We'll see. I don't know. So there are definitely partnerships and collaboration that are going on, specifically on the technology side. I mean, just I do echo your Mr. Aurora's comments. I think there is a lot we can do as individuals, of course, to help the planet heal a little bit or recover somehow. But I also understand we're in a global market, and that's something that is part of progress, if you will, as human beings. And so I think understanding that reality and accepting that reality, we have to look to solutions that we've to problems that we've all contributed to creating. So.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thanks. As Simon pointed out, I'm Jeff from the cruise terminal. I have a question for a rather broad question for Penny, which is just we've heard a bit about different emission abatement technologies. We talked about onshore power. We talked about improved combustion methods. Scrubbers were raised indirectly. We'll hear later about LNG. Just wondering what the experience has been on the U.S. West Coast over time, over which technologies have proven popular, which are sort of trending, if you will, and becoming more popular. Are there differences between different types of shippers, such as passenger shippers versus dry bulk versus container? And are there any geographical differences too? For example, in Southern California, where it's all sort of coal-burned power, versus Pacific Northwest, where there's a lot of hydro-generated electricity. Thanks.
Sure, certainly. Thank you for the question. I'll start with the latter part. Just a correction there. It's most of the California energy is actually natural gas, just the grid there. But of course, the Pacific Northwest is blessed with all of the hydropower and the very clean and relatively inexpensive power up there. So just to correct on the coal side. So some of the technologies that are trending, I think, in California and on the West Coast. So not just even though California is the real leader in terms of pushing regulation out and incentive programs to advance the emission reductions and hopefully force technology a little bit. There's been some advancements in the Pacific Northwest as well, quite a bit, in fact. I think what we've seen on the ship side in California is shore power. Shore power, alternative maritime power. That's a